Good afternoon. Welcome to First Christian Church for our Good Friday service. This is going to be more of a serious, somber, immersive experience as we contemplate the time and the day of Good Friday when Jesus sacrificed himself, for certainly we know he had power that not the normal human being would have, but that he put himself in the power of the crowd and where the crowd was going. My friends, I hope you have a bag like this, which will have all that you need as far as a bulletin to follow along where we are in the service, but also some of the steps that we follow in this service. One of the things that's in here is a handout about the betrayal. And certainly we know that Jesus was betrayed by one of his closest companions, Judas. There are coins in this bag, and there is either in your pew or in a pew nearby that it can be passed around. But at this point, would you take the coins that are in this bag? First, take the rock that's out and set it aside for just a second. There is a rock in it. And there are 30 coins in here, more or less. And take the coins and put them in the metal tin. There's a tinfoil tin that should be close to you. And make some noise. As you came in, you may have been invited to write on the whiteboard. The other insert in here is talking about the denial. How Peter said that he would never deny Jesus, but Jesus had said, "Before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times." My friends, there are times still today when we find ourselves in positions where we end up denying Jesus, either in words or in actions. And so for this, take the rock that was in your bag and hold it during this service and feel the surface, the weight, the contour of it, and let us contemplate who we are as humans, as very human beings. So my friends, let us begin our Good Friday service with the hymn number 210, which will also be on your screen, Ah, Holy Jesus. As a mother and a grandmother, I recall some of the earliest words and phrases and instructions that we teach our children are yes and no. Of course, somehow it's fun for kids to learn that word no, isn't it? We ask them to do something and they say no. But it's also important to learn that word yes. And when our children learn no and have their voice to speak back, we listen. And we know that they don't always understand the implications of that no. That if they are to run and we say, no, stop, they don't understand the danger that they might be running into. Of course, we know this is the case as adults too. What is hell? Sometimes people will contemplate that. And I think instead of imagining a place with flames and torture and all these things that come up in the movies and paintings from ages past, would not hell be the place where we realize the implications of all the times that we did the wrong thing, that we made the wrong choice, that we said no to God instead of saying yes? Today we hear the story of the point in time after Jesus had been teaching about the kingdom for years, that it was so close. The kingdom is near. Can you not see it? That he had preached and taught and modeled how to care for one another, how to feed and heal and help and assist one another. And yet even his closest disciples thought the way to go would be for power, for kingship, for that place on top to control. How do we keep trying to follow Jesus, knowing that the world today is complicated, that there are times when we are in that place and time where we could help, where we could just give a helping hand or an encouraging word, or say, my faith tells me I should do this or I should not participate in this hateful, hurtful action. When we choose the way that's hurtful instead of the way that is caring and loving, people see, people notice. And so, my friends, let us contemplate our role in being followers of Christ. And may God be with us with strength and courage on this dark day. Amen.
A reading from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 27, verses 11 through 26. And please join me in the reading as part of the crowd, because you are the crowd. Please join me when I extend my hand to you. Meanwhile, Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "You have said so," Jesus replied. When he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate asked him, "Don't you hear the testimony they are bringing against you?" But Jesus made no reply, not even to a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor. Now it was the governor's custom at the festival to release a prisoner chosen by the crowd. At that time, they had a well-known prisoner whose name was Jesus Barabbas. So when the crowd had gathered, Pilate asked them, "Which one do you want me to release to you, Jesus Barabbas, or Jesus who is called the Messiah?" For he knew it was out of self-interest that they had handed Jesus over to him. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. "Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" asked the governor. "Barabbas," they cried. "Oh, what shall I do then with Jesus who is called the Messiah?" Pilate asked. And they all answered, "Crucify him." "Why? What crime has he committed?" asked Pilate. And they shouted all the louder, "Crucify him." When Pilate saw he was getting nowhere, but that instead an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. "I am innocent of this man's blood," he said. "It is your responsibility." And all the people answered, "His blood is on us and on our children." And then he released Barabbas to them.
But Pilate had Jesus flogged and handed him over to the crucified. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and then twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand. Then they knelt in front of him and mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they said. They spit on him and took the staff and struck him on the head again and again. After they had mocked him, they took off the robe and put his own clothes on him.
When they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him there, along with the criminals, one on his right and the other on his left. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing."
A reading from the Gospel according to Luke. It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 p.m. While the sun's light failed and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Then Jesus, crying with a loud voice, said, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." Having said this, he breathed his last. When the centurion saw what had taken place, he praised God and said, "Certainly this man was innocent." When all the crowds who had gathered there for this spectacle saw what had taken place, they returned home, beating their breasts.
From the Gospel of John, chapter 19, verses 28 through 30. After this, when Jesus knew that all was now finished, he said, "I am thirsty." A jar full of sour wine was sitting there, so they put a sponge full of the wine on a branch of hyssop and held it near his mouth, and Jesus received the wine. Then he bowed his head.
I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun. Even when it's not shining. I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun. Even when it's not shining. I believe in light. I believe in light. Even when I don't feel it. I believe in light. I believe in light. Even when I don't feel it. I believe in I believe in God. I believe in God. Even when God is silent.
It is finished.